Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to start with C++ introduction. So like any programming language, let's start with the question, what is C++? C++ is a general purpose programming language that is compiled as well as freeform. So basically, the main thing to understand here is that C++ is very close to hardware of the system that it is running on. Okay, so that means this C++ code can directly interact with the operating system and the hardware that it is currently running on. So that is an advantage for this C++ language. Alright, so like any programming language, let's start with the basic program for all programming language, the Hello World program. Alright, so this is the code that we have to write in the language C++ for printing Hello World to the console. Okay, so this seems like a big program with lots of elements in it. Let's discuss each elements one by one to understand how we are actually writing this program. Okay, so first of all, what we can see is that we have this line, include IOStream. Okay, so that is basically hashtag include and IOStream. Okay, let's discuss this one by one. What this hashtag include is, this is a preprocessor directive. What this means, before compiling our program, what the system does, system needs to copy or needs to do something that is done before the compilation process of our code. So this is what helps in, what tells to the preprocessor that what preprocessing is required before we compile or run the actual program. Okay. This hashtag signifies that this is to be understood by a preprocessor, and this tells that we have to include a file in my current C++ program. Okay, and this tells which file we have to include. In these braces, we write what file we have to include. So here we are including IOStream file. Okay, and what does IOStream means? IOStream is a file that has been defined in a C++ compiler that we use, and in that compiler, this IOStream deals with all the input-output functionalities that are required for this C++ program. Okay. So this is basically input-output stream that has been included by a preprocessor. So that explains our line hash include IOStream. Okay, there are many more files that we can include. And what does this inclusion means? By what do we mean by when we say include? Include means whatever is written in this IOStream file, we are simply copying that here. Before this line, everything will be copied as it is. Okay, so that is what we mean by including. Okay, now we come to the second line. Second line is using namespace std. Okay, so let's explain this line as well. Using namespace std. Okay, so what this line does, the C++ compiler has a concept of namespace. Namespace concept means this is basically a toolbox containing all the tools of that is inside in this toolbox. That means you see, we are having this IOStream files, right? This has many tools that are with it, like cout, cin, and endl. So these are some tools that are inside this IOStream. But all these tools are defined inside this standard namespace. That means these tools are inside a toolbox named std. Okay, this std stands for standard. So if we are using a tool, suppose that we are using a tool named cout. So for this, we have to tell the compiler that from which toolbox are we actually using this cout. So basically, we are using this from std, and we use this 2 colons to tell that this cout is from std namespace. Okay, so that means every time we have to use cout, we have to do this std and std. We have to write again and again std. But that is a much overdue, right? So instead of doing that, what we tell, at the start of our program itself, we tell that, hey compiler, we are using standard namespace over all the tools that we are using. That means we are using a namespace, a toolbox named standard. So compiler beforehand knows that whenever we have written cout, it will know that this cout is from std toolbox, that is standard toolbox. Alright, so this was all about namespace that we are using here. Namespace is basically defines the scope of the tool. Basically, it is a toolbox that contains certain tools. Alright, so that was all about this second line using namespace std. Now we come to our main function, that is int main. Okay, so get one thing, whatever is inside this main function means this. Whatever is inside this main function, this is the only thing that is to be executed by our operating system. Okay, operating system calls this main function. Operating system calls this main function, and whatever is written inside this main function is being executed. If you write anything outside this main function, you have to make sure that you call it inside this main function. Only then it will be executed during the runtime of the program. Okay, so what we need to understand is that this main function is the function that is called by the operating system, and that is to be run when our program actually executes. And remember, the return type of this main function is of integer. So we'll come to what return type is and what data type this integer is. But what we can understand it that operating system expects an integer value to be returned from this main function. When operating system calls this main function, then operating system expects that there would be an integer value, that a number that would be returned from this function. And that is why after completing the function, we at the end write return 0. So that means after completing our function, we are returning an integer value, that is a number, that is 0. Okay, so that was all about these two lines, int main and return 0. Now our main line of execution, that is doing the complete magic, that is cout hello world endl. Okay, so let's understand this line as well. Cout hello world, and then we have endl. So what this line does, see, as I already told, that cout is a tool that is inside the IO stream, right? IO stream file. And this basically stands for character out. Character out. Okay. And similarly, we have character in, that is for input, and that is cin. This is cout. Out is output and in is input. Okay, so as the name suggests, if we want to take input, so we use cin. If we want to give an output to the console, we do cout. Okay, so how do we use it? We simply write cout and then this operator, and then we simply write in our double quotes whatever string that we are printing. So this is basically a string, right? So whatever we have to print, we write this. That is whatever we have to print. Okay, so whatever we have to print, we write inside these double quotes, and then we have this operator again, and then we have this endl. What this endl says, that after printing, this endl tells to the compiler that after printing, change line. So that means if you have printed hello world, whatever, if we are printing anything after this, that should be printed in a new line, right? So that tells that endl is basically nothing but end line. So that means this current line of printing has ended. Now you should start printing from the next line. Okay, so this was our complete program where we have understood all this complete structure of the code that we had. Hash include iostream using namespace std, int main, cout hello world endl, and return 0. Okay, so that's it for this video. See you in the next one.